Hello and welcome to another ASC Productions video. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but for the last 5 days I've been super sick with the strep. I have a strep throat. I actually lost my voice for several days. I'm just kind of getting it back now, but because of that I've been stuck inside for the last several days, and finally I had a little bit of cabin fever and I decided to go out and go to the desert and do some shooting with two of my favorite guns. These are both 22 long rifles. This is my Ruger Mark IV 22-45 Lite, and this is my, I'm not really quite sure what to call it, but it's a Walther made Colt branded 22 caliber 1911 style gun. So but I like both these guns, but because I spent today shooting them, I wanted to kind of do a compare contrast between the two of them as I clean them up. They're both pretty dirty. I shot over 250 rounds through each of them today. I shot over 500 rounds total. I was out there a good couple hours just practicing target shooting and shooting at some steel targets that I have. Anyways, so let's get them out of these cases and get to cleaning. Clear. Alright. So some similarities between these two guns is, as the name implies of the 22-45 Lite, is the angle of the grip on this gun is to mimic a 45 1911, and you can actually see that they're very similar in the angle and size of their grips. And so it's one of the reasons why I like this gun. Even though I'd never held a 1911 before, I'd always heard good things about them, and so that's kind of what led me to it. So they have similar grip angles, if not similar grips. The 22-45 Lite is a bit narrower than a 1911 style with standard grips on it. Other than that, they're actually pretty different in a lot of ways. Obviously, this one's based off its name again. It's a light, so it's a lot lighter in weight than a standard 1911 style gun. Even though this is even lighter than a typical 1911, it's significantly heavier than the Ruger is. Also, with the Ruger, I had to add this halo ring just to make the gun a little bit more useful. When you go to cock it without it, these little ears that you have up here is all you get to grip on, and I found myself getting pinched all the time by that. Didn't matter how much I practiced with the gun, I still got pinched. That got a little old after not much time. The takedown of the guns is very different as well. I've demonstrated both of them, but the Ruger's is as simple as it needs to be cocked on safe. Push this button, comes apart. Now you can clean it. Where with this, it's a little more 1911-ish, where you push this button down. This comes out with the spring, and pushing barrel comes out, and then this slides back to this point, and this pops out. Push the pin a little bit from behind, and then, sorry, doing this around the camera makes it significantly harder than just doing it. Come on. There we go. And then, unlike a 1911 that just comes off at that point, that then slides forward, and you have your extra piece there, and so that's that disassembled. Now, as far as shooting, the big difference between the two is because this is a lighter gun, There's a little bit more felt recoil with this, even with the compensator, even though I don't think the compensator does much outside of looks, and I do think it makes it look pretty darn good. But the trigger on the 1911 style, obviously I think it feels a little bit better. The travel of the trigger on this is a lot longer. I know you can upgrade it, but just right out of the box, you know, the only upgrades I've done to these is on this one, the halo ring on the back, and then the compensator up front. And on this, all I've done is switch out these grip panels. So those are the only modifications I've done to either gun. So just out of the box, the trigger on the 1911 style feels a little bit better. There's a little bit more felt recoil with the Ruger. I mean, there's not a lot with the 22 to begin with, but there definitely is more felt recoil. But with the 1911 style, it's, you know, a lot heavier of a gun, and so, you know, that might wear you out a little bit quicker if you're not used to holding a heavier gun. You know, so it's kind of six one, half dozen the other. Which one will wear you out a little bit faster, more felt recoil, or a heavier gun? One big thing I did notice today is overall the Walther Colt model, I had one failure to feed issue right at the beginning. Now this was the second time I've taken this gun out to shoot since I've owned it, only the second time. And so the first time I took it out, I had a lot of issues with failure to feeds, and I kind of expected that. It has a break-in period. I'd had cleaned and oiled it before I took it shooting, but I didn't, you know, didn't have any experience with it. It had just the one today, whereas every time I've gone and shot my 22-45 Lite, I've had failure to feed issues. Today was no different, and while this one had one right at the beginning, this had none until I had about 100 rounds through it, and then I was getting one every 2 to 3 magazines. So it probably had 7 or 8 failure to feeds today, which got a little old after a while. So on that basis alone, I'd be more inclined to recommend this gun over this one, at least shooting the ammo I shot today, which was a Federal bulk. As a red box, 550 round box of ammo. So that alone would lead me towards this, just because, you know, having one out of a box, one out of a few, not a big deal. But when you're talking, you know, every magazine or two, you're having a failure to feed issue. It's not a very reliable gun. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't use this gun for anything more than just practice target shooting at the range or whatever, where you have the time to sit and monitor it and safely clear it, things like that. If you're hunting at all, I don't know if my experience is any different. There's definitely some ammo that this gun really doesn't like the Remington Thunderbolt. Don't fire in this gun. It does not like it. You'll get a failure to feed with every other round, it seems like. And with the what was the other stuff I have? The whatchamacallit? Winchester. Got some Winchester 22 bulk white box ammo, and kind of same thing. It doesn't really like that much either, and it's just, again, failure to feed issues, not failure to fire. You know, you pull the trigger and it tends to shoot. You know, if you get it in there, to actually load it in. But what I got a lot of today was, I believe it's called stovepiping, where you'd have one round loaded in, but the other round not fully ejected, so it'd be sticking halfway out of the injector port here, or the round just not fully seated in all the way in there. So I'm going to actually clean these. I'm just doing a quick wipe down just to get all the dust and crud off before I actually start cleaning while I'm thinking. So yeah, I mean, on that basis alone, just all the failure feeds. Some of the other similarities that on this gun, Obviously, this is a threaded barrel, so you can have a silencer or something like this compensator. This too is a threaded barrel. This end comes off, and you can buy an accessory to screw in there, which then gives you a threaded end for a silencer or a compensator, or something to that effect here on the end of the barrel there. So that's nice that both of these can do that. Now you do have to buy a separate accessory. One thing that I liked about the Walther Colt is that it came with more stuff, kind of. It came with a hard case, where this just came with a box. It came with this magazine loader. This didn't come with anything like that. Where this did not come with 2 magazines, and this one did. And the replacement magazines for this are significantly cheaper than the replacement magazines for the Walther Colt. But this gun is still significantly more expensive than this gun. I think I paid $450 for this gun a couple years ago, and this one was less than $400, like $350, $375, something in that range for this gun just this last month. So obviously a big price difference there between the two. Might even been closer to $500, like $475, something like that. And they don't really negotiate on these prices too much on these guns new. And I haven't been able to find one used for sale by me. I have seen them up on Gunbroker, but by the time you pay all the fees and everything, you almost are paying new prices for them. What else? Yeah, no, it was a fun day. It was a blast. It was a beautiful day. I forgot it was a holiday weekend. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, and so there were a ton of people out there. But I was able to find my quiet spot that I like to go shooting, and where I was able to go undisturbed and just enjoy some plinking and not have anybody stopping and talking to me or asking what I was doing, because people like to do that. People also like to race by in their quads and dirt bikes and stuff, and I don't like being in places where they do that so much, just because they tend to come through and without paying attention, and don't want to shoot nobody. I mean, sometimes you want to shoot somebody, but I don't really want to shoot somebody. Get these on here so I can use some solvent on them. But yeah, I mean, I've thoroughly enjoyed owning both of these guns. Obviously, I've had the Ruger for a lot longer. I've had it now a year and a half, where I've only had the Walther for about a year. They both have what I consider a similar level of customization. Maybe the Ruger a bit more. The Walther, you can customize it in the fact that there's a lot of 1911 parts that will fit on here, like the grips and the beaver tail and the mainspring housing, triggers. The trigger group, I believe, is replaceable, as well as the hammer as well. So while the gun itself doesn't have a big aftermarket, because it is modeled after 1911, a lot of 1911 parts fit on it, whereas the Ruger, because it is such a popular gun, just naturally has a big following. Companies like Halo Ring is made by Tandem Cross, and then there's also Quartzen makes parts for this gun as well that off the shelf drop right in. You can redo the trigger, you can redo the lowers, triggers. Yeah, you can buy, I've seen whole uppers that you can do different for them from Quartzen. Things like that. Just a lot of options. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and finish cleaning these up. I think I'm done talking about them. I don't have anything else really to add. It'd be hard to decide between the two, but you know, it really comes down to personal preference. If you like a heavier weighted gun, if you're really into 1911s, obviously the Walther Colt is a great option, I think, especially for its price. I mean, it was a smoking deal, I feel like, buying that. And the fact that it seems to be a lot less picky about the ammo you're putting through it, at least from the one time shooting it with different ammo, you know, really getting into its break-in period, it just seemed happy to shoot all the bullets I gave to it today. Get them through its magazine and load it in the chamber and shot down range. Didn't seem to hiccup at all on me, so, you know, that definitely is a big plus in my mind for it. Whereas the Ruger is a lot pickier on ammo. Other than that, yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you have an amazing day.